Welcome in. Happy Saturday. Got a lot going on here. Last call on Wager Talk TV. Joe Raineri here, in for Kelly Stewart here today, but the beat rolls on here. College football about an hour away. Week 7. We welcome back the NHL too. First week of action here. We've got NFL Week 6 coming up. We've got a little something for everybody here today. And don't forget, of course, the opportunity for you guys to chime in, ask any questions. We got a loaded panel for you here today. Carmine Bianco is here. Andrew McInnis is here, as well as Mr. Rob Veno. So much to get to here in a short amount of time. So we're going to dive right into it and welcome in Carmine Bianco in the house. And Carm, welcome back, man. I know you've been excited. Puck time all week, you and Andrew. It's good to have hockey back here, and so far so good. Just a couple of days here, but full schedule today. Opportunity to make some cash.
Yeah, there's I think 14 games today, so there's a ton of action, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to have a similar season to last year, where almost 100 units, 99.3 units of profit throughout the regular season and playoffs, and 2-0 last night in the NHL. A couple player props last night, so let's get this going. We're going to talk about Joe. It's a matinee game, 1:00 is the first game on the board. So we should get right to it. What do you say?
Are there any injured Flyers yet? Because I'm pretty sure the whole team was actually wiped out last year with injuries. So they do have a win, believe it or not, taking on Ottawa here today. But what do you think we're going to get with the Flyers and the Senators?
Yeah, I talked about on Puck Time. I've talked about the first week or two, tread lightly, just because a lot of these teams in preseason, in their 8 games, a lot of their starters did not start at least half of the games. So it's much like the NFL, where the first couple of weeks you can get some surprises. At least in the NHL, the first week there were a few shocks in the NHL. But you look at it, you look at what these two teams have done thus far. Philly plays Columbus. These are two teams, I think, that along with the Montreal Canadiens, Andrew McInnis will dispute that when he comes on after me, are going to finish at the bottom of the East this season. And Columbus was basically a non-compete team in that first game. The XG numbers on them were, I think, 4.59 to 2.49 for Philly. A lot of open ice for the Flyers. They took advantage of it, but this is a team that I don't think is going to compete much throughout the season, despite having a coach who won't let him quit, Tortorella. Daniel Briere, new GM, has talked about the fact that they're rebuilding from the bottom up. So they're going to sell off some assets. They're going to clear some cap space so they can buy up some contracts closer to the trade deadline. And by buying up those bad contracts, they're going to get a lot of assets, which is draft picks. They're going to build this team through the draft. I don't expect a lot from them this year. I think they stay under their point total. Now you switch to Ottawa. Ottawa's a team that has a very good chance to make the playoffs. They lose their first game 5-3 against Carolina in Carolina, but that Carolina team is stacked, and they played them pretty tough right into the third period, coming back from a couple of goals down before losing 5-3. Now they're home. Their home opener. It's a big price. It's minus 190, but there's other ways of playing this. And I love taking regulation lines on a team I think gets it done in 60 minutes and avoiding that big juice. And you can get Ottawa minus 115 here. And I think that's the right play. I think this Sens team gets into the win column. It's just a matter of time until this team makes it into the playoffs. And these are the teams that they're going to beat down on, you would think. So give me the Sens minus 115 here.
Ooh, love it. All right, Senators, it is for the first game up. And those of you joining us for the first time here, welcome. Suggestion, go ahead, hit that subscribe and like button. If it is up to the minute game previews across all the major sporting events, we've got you covered here at Wager Talk TV. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. And Carm, game number 2 you want to talk about, 7 o'clock, I think, tonight Eastern time. The puck will drop. No Vasilevsky, but no problem, at least through one game. The kid Johansson passed the test, I guess, right? So what are we going to get on the road against Detroit?
Yeah, he did pass the test, but full disclosure in that game, the Nashville didn't show up in the first period. Tampa could have buried them in that first period. I think the shots on goal were something like 15-2. But from that point forward, 29 to 21 in Nashville, they took over in that second and third period. If Steve Yzerman or anybody from Detroit is listening to this show right now or watching the show right now, stay out of the penalty box. You do not want to put that Tampa Bay power play on the ice. They're already in midseason form. It was unbelievable. They score on a penalty shot. They get a couple power play goals. You cannot give this team the power play. But Detroit, and you look at the XG numbers in that game, Nashville actually had the better numbers in that game, 4.23 to 4.04 in that game. You look at Detroit, they go in, they play in New Jersey, and another game with some high numbers. 492 to 342 were the final XG numbers, this time for the Devils, in a high scoring game. The one thing I like about Detroit is they play at home. They tend to play this Tampa team ultra tough. Last year, I think in the first game in Detroit, they beat them 7-4. They lose the second game 3-0 to Tampa, and it was a Vasilevsky masterpiece because Detroit, despite losing 3-0, outshot Tampa 45-18 in that game and just could not solve him. It was unbelievable how he played that game. 8 of the last 12 games in Detroit between these two have gone over the total, and that's why I'm going here. It's still a little bit of pond hockey this first, maybe second week of the NHL season, and the total's at 6.5 here. And with Vasilevsky not there tonight, I'm looking for some goals. Red Wings are going to get some shots on goal at Little Caesars, and let's see if we can slice up a win.
Yeah, we know a few people in Detroit are going to be real excited about that game here tonight. A lot of offseason acquisitions for Detroit. Taking on Tampa Bay here. Can they hold down the fort till Vasilevsky gets back? We'll see what they do tonight. Expecting some goals with Carmine. And Carmine, I believe we've got a couple of hockey questions lined up in the chat. And again, guys, if you have any questions for Carmine, we still have Andrew McInnis coming up. He too is going to talk about one of the games coming up today, as well as one of his favorite plays in the NFL on Sunday. And then Rob Veno coming up, and he's going to be talking some college football and plenty to go over there as well. But Carm, Vegas Yanni wants to know, can Ottawa even stay above 500 for the first couple of months of the season? What are you thinking?
I do. Other than the Flyers, they got Tampa who comes in next. They've got a nice little homestand. Flyers. Then they got Tampa coming in. They got Washington coming in, who couldn't even score a goal yesterday against Pittsburgh. Then they got the Red Wings, Sabres coming in before they visit the Islanders and Penn. So you look at across on their schedule, and any team in the East, it's always tough. But Ottawa starting with after that Canes one with about they got 5 or 6 games at home in a row. And I would forecast that they're going to win at least 4 of those games. I think they stay above 500. Well-coached team, veterans on this team, and some young talent as well too. Stutzel's that guy's just it's like he has that puck on a string with his stick. So I think they stay above 500. They're going to battle for that wild card spot, that 7th or 8th wild card spot, along with the Sabres, Pens, and possibly the Islanders. So, yes, that was a long answer for a short response. So yes.
Expecting them to be competitive, at least through the first couple of months of the season. All right, we got another one from Jerbaka42. Do the Oilers pay him back here? The Canucks here tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern time. That was a giant ass whooping there the other night, Carm. But the overhit, that's if you were on that, I guess. What are you looking at here? Maybe Oilers and Canucks, a little revenge in mind?
Well, I would hope so. In back-to-backs, I normally like to take the team that lost in the first game, in the second. And I had the Oilers in that first game, and it was like that Simpsons meme that's out there that's like where they're pointing at him and like, stop, he's already dead, because the Oilers were dead in that one. It was they were done and dusted. But it was an embarrassing game for them. Sure, a couple deflections that went in, but it was the power play, 1 for 5. That vaunted power play of theirs that was the best power play in the league. And instead, Vancouver goes 3 for 7 on the power play. I think a little payback tonight from this Oilers team. It's tough to take the total, even though I expect a ton of goals because it's at 7, right? At 6.5, 7 gets you the win. At 7, you're hoping still for another one. I don't like playing totals where I'm like, okay, well, to get to 7, I get a push. When they get to 7, I want the win, but I would lay the one with the Oilers tonight. Yes.
Lay it with the Oilers. All right, great stuff there, Carm. We also have, for those of you that don't know, Carm last year in the NFL Circa contest there. Carm was one that had to go collect a nice check there for dominating. And Carm, you're in the contest again this year, and each and every week I see you're putting out your 5 best bets there for the contest. We call it Carmine's Menu because unlike Russell Wilson, you actually do cook when it comes to football. So let's see what you got on board this week for us here in this week 6 coming up.
2 weeks ago, I was cooking 5-0. Last week, I had ramen noodles with a 2-3 week, but still 7-3 the last 2 weeks. I'm fine with it. But you look at the Ravens. Listen, Lamar Jackson, block punt, safety, drop passes in that game. They shouldn't have lost that game to the Steelers. They're in London. That's the early game, Sunday morning. And Jackson's 4-0-2 his last 6 off a loss against the spread. I'm going to lay the points here with them on this one. A little R&R, Ritter and Robinson at the Atlanta Falcons. I think they get the win here, laying less than a field goal. The Colts, the mustache man, they're putting him in a position. Just don't make any mistakes and just hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. And I think they win the game outright. So I'm going to take the +4 points here. The Rams, this is more of a fade of Arizona. I did it last week. Cooper Kupp, his second game, if he gets as much space as Jamar Chase got, and they can find him, they're going to put up a big number here against Zona. And even though the Cowboys, half their team are still in the ER room after getting pounded by the San Francisco 49ers, I like them in a bounce back spot here. The Chargers defense is not the same as the 49ers defense. So hopefully Dak and the boys can get a win here.
All right, there you go. Carmine's Menu. He's cooking this week, and it starts, don't forget, early tomorrow there with the Ravens out in London here. All right, Carm, we appreciate it, my man. Best of luck with all the plays. We still got Rob Veno coming up. He's got 2 college football best bets for you, and if you guys have any questions for him or our next guest here with Andrew McInnis, you can drop them in the chat room. And again, if you're new to us here at Wager Talk TV, happy Saturday to you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if it's NHL content you like, college football, NFL. You get the picture here, guys. Nobody's got more content we do here on Wager Talk TV. Now, McInnis, what is going on here, man? Nobody is happier to have the NHL back than you, my friend. You and Carmine hosting Puck Time during the week, Monday through Friday. Looking forward to cashing a whole lot of tickets this season. And you are going right off the bat to the Buffalo Sabres and the Islanders, which I think is fascinating, given the fact that I thought Buffalo might show out in the first game against the Rangers, Rick Durant having the whole, ceremony. You thought they'd show. No, they didn't show. They got their ass handed to them. So what do they do against the Islanders in this one?
Joe, great to be here with you, brother. I think this is a great opportunity for the Buffalo Sabres to bounce back. I think you look at the game they played against the New York Rangers. Look, I'm not saying I don't respect the Islanders, but I think that they're a different type of hockey team than New York Rangers are. The New York Rangers play fast. They've got a lot of skill. They have a strong power play. Their defensemen jump into the rush. You can't really say the same for the New York Islanders. The Islanders play a lot slower style of hockey, which I think really benefits Buffalo. They've got a lot of youth on their team, a lot of speed. They've got 4 lines that'll make you pay. And I know there's some data that Ralph Michaels has shown that kind of benefits actually the team that hasn't played a game so far, which is quite shocking. But I feel like in this scenario for Buffalo, with all those young players they do have, like coming off a game against a really tough team, people are going to look at that game, Joe, and they're going to talk smack about Buffalo, say they couldn't create chances. For me, I cashed a team total over ticket on the New York Rangers. Now I'm betting on the team the Rangers beat. I think this is a really good spot here. This Islanders team, they never go out and make a splash in the offseason. The biggest pickup they've made recently was Bo Horvat, and I'm sorry, but he's not really showing up on your ESPN highlight reels anytime soon. They don't have that it factor. Buffalo continues to get better. You talk about the Atlantic Division. Carmine mentioned teams growing through the draft. I feel like if there's one team in the league that I think we should all talk about that's actually done that, it's Buffalo. You know, the old Philadelphia expression, trust the process. Well, I think the process has actually gone pretty well for the Buffalo Sabres. So to me, I think this is a great underdog price, and I'll take Buffalo on the money line here.
Woo, all right. Let's go Buffalo. Get it done here. And hopefully both Buffalo teams here this weekend can get it done here. Andrew, you got a 5% best bet, I see. Also in the NHL, that game here tonight?
Yeah, it's in the NHL, Joe, and I woke up to some great reactions to the Every Game on the Board podcast. I ran through every single game in a 13-minute video here on Wager Talk TV. So a lot of picks. I had some guys calling me absolutely bonkers in the comments for doing a video with that many games. But I recommend anybody that wants to check that out. And, of course, we got Canadian football going, so still all kinds of stuff. But 13 games today in the NHL. I found one spot that I like the most as my 5% play.
All right. Well, we got an NHL question here before we get to your NFL bet here. And Vegas G-Gen wants to know about strategy for taking team totals over puck lines. So what are you thinking about this? You mentioned it on that podcast. So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I got to shout out Ronald Kabang. I mean, Ron is great with his data and his research, and he found that only 16% of the time the teams that are covering the puck line aren't hitting that team total of at least 4 goals. I mean, usually when you're taking a team on the puck line, you're expecting a lopsided victory, of course, at least a 2-goal victory. So if you think about it, 3-1, 3-0, 2-0 are the other, options. Most of the time when you see a team cover their puck line, they're scoring 4 goals. And when I look at the puck line these days, I feel like you just have to worry too much about kind of a football expression, the backdoor cover, Joe. I mean, you could have a team up 5-2, 5-3, and all of a sudden the other team gets fired and it catches fire in the third period, and you start to worry. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be worried about not cashing a ticket when my team scores 5 or 6 goals. So the best part about team totals is that you don't have to worry about what the other team does. You're only worrying about one team. And I don't just do this to get like a big favorite to a better price. Sometimes I'll do this when it's like a pick 'em matchup. A good example would be just looking at, some teams like the Oilers. Last year in the playoffs, I bet on the Oilers team total whenever I liked them. I didn't want to bet their money line because, Joe, there'd be games where they would lose the game but still score 5 goals. So you're better off just taking those team totals.
Yep, absolutely correct. Great stuff there, Andrew. And I know the NFL tomorrow, week 6, here we go. You've got an interesting game that you isolated for us. And, I wanted to wait and see with Joe Burrow last week with Arizona. It seemed that everyone kept saying, he's back. Don't like the calf injury. Let me see it. He showed up. He looked much better than he has, but now he's got Seattle coming to town here, coming off a bye with Pete Carroll and company. What are you looking at in this game with Cincinnati and the Seahawks?
Well, Joe, I know people love to overreact to bye weeks, and they look to bet on the team that's coming off the bye week. The way I look at it is I want to bet for them to score points, for them to be fresh. I know they're dealing with an injury bug there with DK Metcalf. He's been kind of dealing with that all season long, but with Tyler Lockett and Kenneth Walker, these guys are absolutely pushing the pace, and I really like what I'm seeing out of this Seattle offense. Before their bye, I know we can't use this as a one-game example here, Joe, but they absolutely dominated the New York Giants. Now, putting it this way, they didn't really have to do much on offense. I mean, Geno Smith only had like 135, 140 passing yards because Daniel Jones threw more passes to the Seattle than he actually threw to his own team. But if you look at the Seattle schedule over the past several games, the completion rate for Geno Smith has been very consistent. The run game has been very consistent, and they've been breaking off for these big plays every single time. And this is the thing about this Bengals team. I mean, you look at them, they got better last week. Sure, they had their first explosion, but giving up 27 against the Titans, still 20 against the Cardinals, 27 against the Ravens. This is a secondary I don't think anybody should trust. So I think if you think the Bengals are back, the Bengals are back, Burrow looked better, Jamar Chase is getting things done again, I just like the over. Give me points. I think this is a Seattle defense that is respectable, but when they play teams like the Bengals that can throw it deep, that can kind of keep you guessing and won't just be dinking and dunking, that's when I think they struggle. So this to me, should be one of the more exciting games of the week, and we're seeing a pretty low total. So I'm going to go up and over in this one, Seattle and Cincinnati.
All right, get some points ready to roll there this weekend, and make sure you guys head over and take advantage of that 5% best bet he's got today in the NHL. And if you are a first-time customer, guys, you get that 15% off on any purchase. So take advantage of it right now. Visit Andrew over at WagerTalk.com. Appreciate it, Andrew. Best of luck, my man. We'll see you again this week as we get ready for kickoff. Top of the hour here. College football is what we got on our mind here. And again, if you're new, go ahead, slap that like button, hit that thumbs up. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Become part of the Wager Talk TV family. And if you have any questions, college football related, now would be the time for you to drop them if you're joining us live here in the chat room. But don't stop there. If you're seeing this on replay, go ahead, drop them in the comment section. We will, of course, answer them as they come in here, guys, because we do keep an eye on the comment section all week long. So let's bring in Rob Veno and talk some college football here. And Veno, welcome in. We are about 45 minutes away from kickoff and a bunch of games where teams are laying 9 touchdowns. But besides that, let us start here with a game here that you seem to be high on right off the bat. And I kind of like this game here too. So talk to me about Ohio State and Purdue. I'm wondering if you're leaning the same way I'm leaning in this game.
Well, I chose to shorten this one up, Joe, and play first half here. And I played first half total over 27.5. I think this thing opened 26.5, moved to 27.5 for most of the week. And now we're looking somewhere. I think there's a couple of stray 28s out there, but 27.5 still very, very available. Last week against Maryland, and I know a lot of the talk where Ohio State offensively is concerned at this present time is the offensive line couldn't move Maryland last week. Probably true. First half, maybe, into the third quarter, Kyle McCord didn't look very good. The offensive line didn't look very good. But late in the first half, they scored a touchdown. And as bad as it was, Ohio State was right in the game at halftime. That touchdown led to 6 consecutive possessions where they scored 6 straight times. And so as bad as Ohio State might have looked last week to people, they still scored on 6 straight possessions. Fast forward that to what we have today. Last week, running back Travion Henderson did not play for Ohio State, which was a big blow. Today, he's back. I think in the wide receiving core, they'll be just fine. In this particular instance, Marvin Harrison Jr. seemed to be the go-to on every play last week. Cade Stover helped out. And I think Kyle McCord probably got a little bit of confidence back with that second half. All that being said, Ohio State had 55 yards on the first 5 possessions, and then the next 6, 3 of those they gained between 72 and 76, 300 yards on their final 6 drives. So I think they're coming in here offensively ready. And it's a step down in class. Let's face it, Purdue's defense is not that good. What happened at the line of scrimmage last week probably doesn't happen here. For the Purdue side, some interesting numbers, Joe. And the reason why I chose to go first half, their first halves have been high scoring, believe it or not. 5 of their games so far this year, 34 first half points against Virginia Tech, total this is. 28 against Syracuse, 29 against Illinois. I don't know how you get to 29 against Illinois, 24 against Wisconsin. And then, of course, last week, Iowa, Deacon Hill, quarterback, Cade McNamara out for the year. That game only had 17. I kind of look at it like this. Ohio State, to me, is probably good for 24 here. And Purdue has scored 7 at least in all but one of their games in the first half. And that would have been last week's Iowa game, where nobody ever scores in an Iowa game. I think the number's in a good spot. The full game total continues to go up. But I'm not real interested. If Ohio State gets up big in this one, maybe they let off the gas. We'll see. They are the road team. Can only bring so many guys to a road game, so maybe they can't let off the gas. But I think their offense is ready. I think the first half they'll come out of the chute hot. And Purdue, for what it's worth, with Hudson Card, always stands a chance offensively, as indicated by the fact that they've scored a touchdown in almost every game except for one in the first half. So I'm going to look at over 27.5, Ohio State, Purdue, and that does go at noon East. So we're getting, to within 30 minutes of kickoff there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff there. Hey, they don't call them the spoiler makers for nothing. I believe Purdue has actually handled business 3 out of the last 4 in West Lafayette. So kind of crazy. For whatever reason, Purdue is the team that has been kryptonite against Ohio State. So we'll see if that holds true here today. It is down to about 17 and a half. So it looks like that opening number of 19 and a half, folks were like, yeah, they are the spoiler makers after all. But you got another game here, and I love this should be a fun game. If for no other reason, these two offenses should have some success when we're looking here in Florida. South Florida, in fact, taking on FAU. Good old Coach Herman back in the headlines down in South Florida here, Veno. What are you looking for in this one? The Bulls taking on the Owls here.
Well, I didn't have to look too long, Joe, at the beginning of the week. I saw 59 looking back at me for a total, and I got involved as fast as, I don't know, Ryan Leonard does a cannonball in a swimming pool. I was there quickly. Over 59 points in that game. And let me say this. I mean, I'm just going back to the well with something that works. You and I do an awful lot of work together on the NBA show the last 3 or 4 years. And one of our favorite things to say is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And in this case, South Florida going over the total is not broke. And I'm not going to try and fix it. USF has now played 3 straight games where the final scores totaled 71, 74, 91 points. Aside from that flukish 17-3 Alabama game, right, where there was a weather delay, where Alabama was quarterback experimenting, where Alabama brought a tremendous elite defense into the game. If you take that game out of South Florida's schedule, South Florida has not played a game that's landed under 62 points. Now, this game has moved from 59 to 61. Some bettors out there obviously agreeing with what I'm going to say here. If you want to go ahead and say, Rob, how could you count Florida A&M? Let's discount Florida A&M from South Florida's schedule. The FBS teams other than Alabama, USF games have hit 75.3 points per game on average. They have the second fastest offensive tempo among FBS teams. They're getting a snap off about every 20.7 seconds. Talked about this a lot this year, Joe, but I'll repeat it for guys who maybe haven't seen me talk about it before. But first-year head coach Alex Golish for South Florida spent the previous 5 years under Josh Heupel at Central Florida and at Tennessee. Thus, you see the speedy offense, the extreme tempo here. South Florida, on average, 80 plays per game. So you're going to get plays, you're going to get opportunities, you're going to get possessions. We like all of those things when we're playing over. Let's look at, as you mentioned, Tom Herman and Florida Atlantic. They haven't really posted the gaudy offensive numbers that USF has, but they are playing fast in Tom Herman's style, 24th fastest tempo in the nation. They had to kind of, change midstream because they lost their number 1 quarterback, Casey Thompson. Remember him from Texas and Nebraska. Lost him 3 games ago, and had to make the switch to Daniel Richardson, who I always tease our good buddy Drew Martin about, because Daniel Richardson was the Central Michigan quarterback from South Florida. So Daniel Richardson has a lot of experience, 4 years worth. And in fact, he's getting better. Last game he played, he completed 64% of his passes. So I think when I say better, I mean he's getting more used to and cohesive inside this offense. this team in general has faced some really tough defenses. Joe, look at the Florida Atlantic schedule. You play Clemson, you play Illinois, even Tulsa's better than what South Florida brings to the table defensively. So in the end, I think an FAU defense, which has given up 393.5 yards to a schedule that's featured Monmouth, Ohio U, Clemson, Illinois, and Tulsa. You can't give up 394 yards to those teams on average. None of those are offensive juggernauts. None of those are tempo teams. This is going to be a totally different animal for the FAU defense. You start adding all these matchups up, and you can't, at least in my mind, you can't come to any other conclusion than over here. Like I say, 59 was a far better number, but 61 still fits because, as I said earlier, the South Florida team hasn't played a game other than Alabama under 62. So that's where I'm going, buddy, at that Florida matchup. Florida Atlantic, Boca Raton against South Florida Bulls over, I guess, what's now 61 points.
Yeah, I love this South Florida team, and especially with their overs. I love the quarterback, Cash the Ticket with them against Navy a couple of weeks back. This is what a turnaround from where they were just, a year ago to where they are today. They've been a lot of fun to watch here. So, all right, a couple games coming up there. I'm thinking we got some questions here from the chat room, guys. Hit that like button if you are joining us here live. If you are new watching this on replay, hit that subscribe button if you could. And let's dive into as many of these as we can get, as good old Paco Healy in the house here on this Saturday. He says, I know Michigan State is ugly, but should we be grabbing the hell no. I want not. I cashed last week with Rutgers against Wisconsin, and if it ain't broke, Veno, right? Don't 5-0-1 against the number. I mean, Rutgers is just printing money. Michigan State, you want anything to do with thinking they got a little something left in the tank here?
I'm not sure I do, Joe. And I'll say this, here in the Northeast, and I'm about an hour and a half from Rutgers campus. The weather's miserable. It's a Rutgers type of day, right? It's a Greg Schiano type of day. Let's just run it. Let's play tough defense in this lousy weather, and let's get ourselves a win. I do see the game being bet down, some Michigan State money coming in as we speak. However, that's probably due to the weather conditions. I think those weather conditions favor Rutgers, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't play them. I don't know that I trust them laying more than a field goal, but I certainly don't trust the other side. I don't know when or if they're going to show up on a week-to-week basis. So I would leave it alone, but I can't recommend Michigan State.
Yeah, and I believe Michigan State is sending out the redshirt freshman kid there, Hauser, for his first start. Not a great situation there at all. Let's see what else we got here. Big Dog in the house. Always a pleasure to see you. What do we think about USC? Do they have a good chance for the outright? I want to grab the points, but I seriously think they win outright. And, listen, as good news, bad news. The good news there, Veno, is they absolutely have a chance to win this game outright. Bad news is I think the public has run to the window to bet USC. I think they are one of the most tickets bet here so far, I believe, in today's games is on USC. So the public is grabbing those points here. Veno, what are you thinking?
Yeah, the other half of that bad news is USC brings their defense on the plane too, so that's always trouble
that's a good
with them.
Point. Yes.
This is an interesting game, Joe, because I kind of went full circle on this. Beginning of the week, I thought you got to play Notre Dame. USC hasn't seen a defense like this. What if they can't go out there and rattle off 42 points? What's going to happen then with that defense? And then I thought to myself, after what I saw of Louisville, Notre Dame last week, and let's just stop for a minute here and understand that Louisville's kind of a poor man's version of USC, right? They play the exact same way offensively. It's extreme tempo under Jeff Brom, wing it around. They just don't have the athletes that that USC has. So if Notre Dame can give up 33 to Louisville, I started thinking, you know what? USC can get to that 38-40 range. And Notre Dame's been an offensive disaster, even with Sam Hartman. I know that the defense is weak on USC. It kind of, when I mixed it up a little bit, Joe, I thought, why are they betting this total down? Why is it going down to 60.5 when USC should be able to get theirs, and USC's defense always gives the other side theirs? That's kind of the way I'm looking. But I wouldn't be surprised at sidewise. I wouldn't be surprised at a victory either way. Both teams, you could make arguments for each side in this game. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, you can, and keep an eye on the weather, right? I think 16 to 20 mile an hour wind gusts. So it's going to be interesting if the weather plays a role, and lower scoring might actually favor Notre Dame. Track meet favors USC, so it's just a matter of what you think we're going to get here tonight. Rob Veno on the card here today at WagerTalk.com. What do the people have when they visit your page?
Yeah, they're going to get a quartet for best bet releases here. Joe didn't quite make it to the 5%, but 4% plays here. Best bet variety. A lot of stuff that I liked on the card. I think it's a 7-play card in all since January 1st this calendar year. NFL, college football combined, all football. #1 profit leader at WagerTalk.com. So if you're going to hop in, I think you get a discount this month. There's a coupon code to get, I think, 12% off every purchase that you make there. So good day to get involved. Like the college football card. We'll see how she goes. There is weather in some spots, so be careful as you're playing these games. But check my page, WagerTalk.com.
Awesome stuff, Rob Veno. Always a pleasure, man. Good luck with those plays, and that'll do it here for this edition of Last Call. Again, go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so, and we certainly do appreciate the time. Best of luck with all your plays. We'll be back again next Saturday doing it for you. In the meantime, good luck, guys. It's week 7 of the college football season, week 6 of the NFL season. NHL is underway. A lot of ways to cash some tickets here this week. Go visit these guys over at WagerTalk.com. Until next time, good luck, guys. We'll talk to you again soon.